Hello, my name is Mitch and I draw Blood Force, and we're back for more Spawn, more uninspired Spawn. Look, we have to get through these if we're going to get to the Alan Moore issue and the Neil Gaiman and all that kind of stuff, so just kind of bear with me. In the meantime, if you like the channel, if you want to support me as an artist, the best thing to do would be to open up the description. There's a link there that'll take you to my Patreon. And that's where all of these videos go before they get uploaded to YouTube. That's where all the Blood Force pages go. You can also go over and follow me on Instagram. I am starting to take commissions there. So all of this is stuff that we'll need to get Blood Force out on those shelves. But yeah, back to Spawn number 6. November 1992. So he's still keeping up with the monthly schedule. You gotta applaud him for that. And this is introducing Overt-Kill. Accent on the T. I believe because Overkill was taken and they weren't allowed to use it. I'm just looking for some sort of evidence that there was a trademark claim or something filed. I can't really see anything like that. It looks like there was a G.I. Joe character called Overkill, but it seems as though they intentionally named it Overt-Kill, perhaps? At the end of Spawn number 7 here, there's the ads for these videos with Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Stan Lee, where apparently they make up Overt-Kill on the spot. And this is largely based off of a Rob Liefeld design, which you can kind of see. I mean, honestly, it looks a little bit like one of his early Cable designs. The big blue suit Cable. So that showed up briefly in Spider-Man number 16 and X-Force number whichever one it was. I don't have that one. But, yeah, a little similar. And at least we did finally get a cover where we can figure out what's going on in the issue based on it. So, hats off for that. Okay, so, anything new going on here? Not so much. Oh, this one's dedicated to Stan Lee, and I believe the next one is dedicated to Rob Liefeld, because they co-created the character. So we're going to start off with a big old explosion, and that cannot have been fun to draw. I can't imagine drawing that thing. And it still doesn't entirely look like an explosion, but there's a whole lot of lines there. Like it's a very good splash page, though. And this is, we're going to follow it up with another splash with the first shot of Overt-Kill. Maybe I should just call him Overkill. Yeah, and so he's been called in to demolish this building, even though the military has been, the multinational firm has refused to cooperate on all levels, so the crime cartel decided to do some leveling of its own. So there you go. He works for the crime cartel. And the army's been called in because they're familiar with Overkill. And they brought all the heavy artillery, and the heavy artillery does not matter, apparently. It's worth remembering for later. And so they don't run fast enough, and Overkill catches up and slaughters a bunch of them, by the looks of it. And they bring out a gigantic cannon, which Overkill just smashes. And this is all reasonably fun stuff. I'm not sure the point of this particular 2-issue sequence, really. Just to, apart from, we have this character we designed. Maybe I should just throw him in there and, give Spawn a bit of a challenge. That wouldn't be the worst idea. And now we're cutting to an alleyway where a couple of thugs are questioning a slime ball. So 2 thugs and a slime ball are in an alley. And so they're looking for Spawn because they figure Spawn is the guy who was murdering Dawns by pulling out their hearts. And if we recall from the Billy Kincaid issue, that's also what the cops think. Everybody thinks that. I'm not sure why everybody thinks that. I mean, I did 2 through 4 recently, and I don't remember them actually saying anything about the Mafia killer. But, apparently, so this guy thinks it's Spawn. And he seems to be the only guy Yeah, this seems to be the only link, really. We have no idea who this guy is. This is the first time we've seen him. But he mentions like the cape and all that stuff, and that's how that particular misunderstanding happens, I guess. And I always like this with the lighter as exclamation point. That's not bad. Okay, now we're cutting to one of the first of McFarlane's lawsuits with Tony Twist. I don't know if you recall, this was he named his big mobster villain character Tony Twist, which is the name of a hockey player. At the time, he was an enforcer with the St. Louis Blues, and apparently, Tony Twist either didn't like the fact that he was being portrayed as a mob boss, or saw an opportunity to cash in. And we kind of see from the beginning of Spawn that Todd is a bit of a bad businessman that way. Like, he's not careful about shit. He would get into all sorts of legal problems with Neil Gaiman because he took kind of a loosey-goosey view on ownership of characters. And, you know, there were a few lawsuits that Todd was involved in that he could have pretty easily avoided with a little bit of prudence. But prudence has never really been Todd's deal. And yeah, again, with one of these kind of made-up skylines. And it just looks really nice. And the color choices are good, too. So now we're cutting back to this alley where Spawn is starting to become more accepted by the local bums. Still haven't figured out not to do the nose. It should be coming pretty soon. That pout's becoming a bit more obvious every issue now. And now we're going to cut back to Wanda and Terry with Cyan. Why? That's a good question, actually. Why is this in here? I mean, I know Todd has a tendency at this time to assemble his issues by just coming up with pages and throwing them out on the floor and going, okay, what looks like a story? But this doesn't really... I mean, we kind of covered this kind of ground before. You know, Terry and Wanda are pretty happy and they've got a kid that they like. Okay. I mean, we'll get back to it a little bit, but this was completely unnecessary, really. I mean, anything with... Because there is some more stuff with Wanda later in this episode, but you don't need, I don't think, to reestablish the Wanda context every time Wanda's in an issue by showing them as a happy family. I don't know, could be wrong. But we're going to cut back to... So thugs are walking through Crime Alley, or whatever it's called, and just killing the homeless as a means of calling Spawn out. And as they're walking away, Spawn kills the one in the rear and interrogates the one in the lead. Starts out by saying, "Your friend is dead." This is kind of weak. This feels like he had the idea for this gag, you know, where he says a thing and says, "Know what I mean?" "Yep." "Know what I mean?" "Yep." And then, "You up for it?" And then Spawn says, "Yep." Like, he had that idea, but he didn't really have an idea of how to follow it up. Maybe he was pressed for time. I don't know. Oh, and we're going to start seeing these ads for... Yeah, I didn't mention that one, did I? We're going to start seeing these ads for the writer series. So, Spawn number 8 is going to be written by Alan Moore with a poster by Frank Miller. Spawn number 9 is going to be written by Neil Gaiman with a poster by Jim Lee. That's not bad. And so now we get the crime families deciding what to do about Spawn, since they all think that he's this mafia killer. And surprise, surprise, they all agree to whack him. This is fun, though. This is actually this all works fairly well with the tower here, and then, you know, one by one through the different dawns. And of course it's Todd, so they're all going to look extremely cartoonish. None of them look particularly recognizable. That one almost looks like Abe Vigoda, but not quite. He's a little bit too chunky. So, Tony Twist tells them that he's already taken the liberty of hiring Overt-Kill, or bringing him over from Sicily. And we're gonna get full-on Looney Tunes cartoon shit in here with the exact outline of Overkill down to the antenna. Oh, he's got the shoulder spikes here. Doesn't have them. Oh, he has them just on the one side there. Doesn't have them there. Okay. So Todd's having difficulty remembering what the character looks like from panel to panel. I've been there. So word quickly spreads that the mob requests a meeting with the person responsible for the deaths of its 7 leaders, and added to that request is the broken body of another homeless victim. Spawn had never met this vagrant and is not happy that all the street people are under threat by implied association. So, yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it's very obviously a trap, I would think, but, you know, I think Spawn thinks he can at worst magic himself out of any situation. And I don't know who he's talking to here. Trying to be edgy. It's scumbag. Is he talking to himself? Because he's flying. He's like 100 feet over in the air right there. Always preying on the weak. Let's see how you deal with death warmed over. These are terrible. And turns out that Overkill is hiding in the warehouse. This is a pretty good looking warehouse, actually. It's simple, but no, that looks pretty realistic. And so now they're going to have their fight after they do a whole bunch of name calling. Todd likes to do this where people don't say clever things. They just call each other names, and like, you know, I can see by your demeanor that you're too stupid to care about that. It sounds like a 13-year-old. Like the kind of 13-year-old who thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Anyway, we get our fight. The chains act on their own, which is, I think, the first indication that the suit is kind of alive and does its own thing. So Spawn is able to get the upper hand here kind of by, you know, dodging out of the way of Overt-Kill trying to grab him. His hand gets stuck in between these 2 gears, so decent continuity between those. And it smashes his hand up. But nice double-page spread for some action. A little bit of action. Nope, Dave Sim writes Spawn number 10 with a poster by Rob Liefeld. I don't remember what that looks like. That ought to be fun. And it hasn't really deterred Overkill all that much. This is a cool shot here. And nicely detailed. And Spawn is just now realizing that he's a cyborg. So I guess up till now he thought this was all like cosplay, like a suit. And now Overkill just kind of beats the living shit out of Spawn. Out of nowhere. But these are some good pages. Although I don't like this. Like this would have been better served as, I would say, this image. Just a shot of him lying there with blood on him. And then have all of these be close-ups of Overkill, close-ups of impacts, you know, that kind of stuff. I think that this came close to being really, but I mean, you know, it's tough to really criticize Todd for his layout choices when his layouts are usually like ridiculously inventive. Like, I don't even know where the panel border is here. I guess it's the cape. Yeah, kinda. Although the rubble here, I think, is part of this. Man, you know, I mean, like, you read it fine, but like when you really start looking at a detail, it's like, what the hell is even going on here? It all works though. And Frank Miller writes Spawn number 11, so I think we've confirmed it now. The poster insert by Jeff Darrow. I don't remember what that looks like either. That could be fucking awesome. Probably will be. Jeff Darrow, if there's one thing about Jeff Darrow, it's he's got work ethic. I don't think we're going to get a minimal amount of lines. So then Overkill wanders away because he thinks that Spawn is dead, when really his life sensors, his external life sensors have just been broken when his arm was shattered. Which you'd think he'd know, but That's okay. Spawn has to use some power to heal himself here because his arm is broken. And now he's resolved to take down Overkill without using his powers because he doesn't want to drain his powers any further. We did just learn like 2 issues ago about the powers, so I guess that's something. So he's going to break into an army warehouse here, and we get he's wrong, dead wrong, essentially. What is the thing for this? I'm better than that. I don't remember what that refers to. No one gonna force me to use my powers again, especially not some bloody cyborg half-breed. Getting tired of being pushed around. I'm better than that. Sure you are. So, that'll be the next issue, which is where Spawn is, determined to take down Overkill using guns instead of his powers. It's very inventive. It's a good consideration, though. You'd think once he realizes using my powers shortens my lifespan, okay, I'm going to not use my powers ever again then, or as little as possible. And then we show him have to use them a little bit to heal his arm in here. He does have to use them a little bit in the next issue, too, at least. And we get a Spawn pinup by Merritt Michaels. Huh? It's not bad. It is inked by Todd and colored by Ollie Optics, I'm quite sure. I wonder if Todd did the breakdowns too? I don't think Merritt can usually pull off proportions that are quite that even. It feels like maybe you went, okay, circle and the body, and hey Todd, he's going to have his arm up like this. Can you maybe come up with a cool effect? Yeah, no problem there, Merritt. And then you can draw in a background for me, right? Yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. And we get to the spawning ground. And there's that service ad. So yeah, this is seems to be the deal. Is Todd has no problem with putting ads in for the creators that he's got some admiration for. Now that he's got a book that where he controls the ad space and he's got a lot of eyes on him. So that's pretty cool. Again, I think he thinks he can do like handshake deals on this kind of stuff, and that will not serve him very well in future, but it's cool for now. Spawntastic apparel. Okay. Quality t-shirts and hats, and it's called Spawntastic Apparel? All right. I feel like I should look into that. It is a thing. Oh no. The eBay listing for a Spawntastic Apparel pit t-shirt calls it vintage, and it's not incorrect. That's awful. Oh, $200. Holy shit. All right. That's what a vintage t-shirt gets you, apparently. What else do we have here? We got Cyberforce, $300. What in the fucking shit? Deathblow and Cyberforce ash cans, $100. It seems like all of this early image merchandise all kind of went for a ton of money. Everything except for the comics. The comics they printed like 1 million of each, and you can get them anywhere for $3. It's quite a time. So that is going to do it for Spawn number 6. Not a whole lot to that. It's mostly here's a big bad enemy, and we're going to set up this confrontation with the Mafia that will continue, and we'll show how bad the bad guy is by beating the living shit out of Spawn. But then Spawn, you know what? That's a pretty good progression of events. And I mean, we've come a long way from like issue 2 and 3, when nothing would happen, and nothing would happen for like 20, 21, 22 pages. So this is not the worst issue by any means. But I think I'll be a little bit glad to get to like the Alan Moore one eventually when shit happens. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when another one's going to come up. Go follow on Twitter. More importantly, go and subscribe on Patreon. That's where all these videos go before I get them on YouTube, usually about a week or so in advance. That's also where all the Blood Force pages go and any behind-the-scenes stuff. And if you're interested in commissions, you can go over to my Instagram. You can DM me there. And there is a whole pricing system set up there, so that's all worked out. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Now, thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.